Hello.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're joined today by two award-winning authors, Philip Fracassi and Josh Malerman. Uh, Philip's newest book, A Child Alone with Strangers, released today, and Josh's most recent novel, Daphne, came out on September 20th. Thank you both for being here, and shout out to Mitch Hull with Rapture Ales for facilitating this event.
No problem.
Yeah,
Look at that. Rapture
Oh,
Brewery.
here it is. Product placement.
yeah,
Yeah.
what a good endorsement.
Yep. I'm drinking it right now.
Yeah. All right, well, Philip and Josh, I think we'll kind of let you both get to it. Is there anything you want to say before we start or anything like that?
No, let's just jump right in, right?
All right.
Josh, any opening comments?
Yes. Okay, sure. I would love to cheer you for a release day book with shot glasses from Logan's.
This is my Logan shot glass, and this, the Logan's from Cool in the Cape, and this is Johnny Blue. So I'm going to sip this. I'm not going to shoot it because this is like $80 right here in a decent
bougie.
I'm going to do it. I'm taking a shot at 5 p.m. To you.
To you.
To Philip.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you guys for having us. This is wonderful. No, we just jump into it.
Yeah, well, we're real quick before you guys get started. I just want to say we are doing a giveaway. We've got 3 signed books that we're going to give away and a little Whitty Books swag bag. So we have a signed copy of Child Alone with Strangers, a signed copy of Daphne, and also a signed ARC of Philip Fracassi's newest book that's coming out in February called Gothic. So that will be just one big giveaway of all that goodness. So all you have to do to enter.
All different people get each one. They're not all one thing.
Well, no, we're going to do it all or nothing.
So one person wins everything?
One person. Yeah. It's a life-changing opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's what I'm saying.
That is exciting.
All you have to do to enter is in the comments section below, #Whitty, WHITTY. And I will add that.
You hashtag it and you say it in the comments, Mitch?
Yes, in the comments. Yep.
And
you will automatically be entered into the giveaway.
I'm going to enter. That sounds like a
No, you guys cannot enter.
It does sound like a good one.
It is a good one. Yeah, we don't mess around.
I'm going to log in under a pseudonym.
Now that I can't check, so you'd get away with that.
Archie Bunker.
But thank you guys so much for joining us, Philip and Josh. We're just going to let you guys have at it. Everyone watching, feel free to comment below any questions, and I will throw it on the screen, and they will maybe see it and answer it. We'll see.
Yeah, we're be happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll leave you to it.
Right on. Awesome.
So we should introduce, right? So we're here to talk about this, Josh's book Daphne, which is awesome.
Philip's book, which is released today, A Child Alone with Strangers.
Yeah. It's a big book, Child.
You know what? Okay, let's get
literally. You could literally prop your door open with it.
So, just a note real fast. I'm on, so the viewers know, I'm on page 206 out of like almost 600, I think. And just a note to the publisher, it's like, it's exceptionally well done. The actual book itself, I'm sure that's something you've already noticed. Like the feel of it, the read of it, the font of it, the pace of it. It's like a real like fluid, almost like the word I'm looking for is almost classy. It's like there's something about this actual edition that is really, really cool, and really readable. Also,
I like the typography they did.
Yeah,
with
me too.
The heading. That was really nice, and the cover is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful edition, and it doesn't read like a at least I'm 206 deep. It doesn't read like a sloggy epic or something. I mean, it's a burner. Like this one goes right away. And I had read somewhere that maybe even in one of the quotes, it says something about a slow burn at the beginning, but it's not. It's not, to me at least, it's not. I mean, this thing immediately just hit the ground running with a really amazingly dark opening, not the prologue, that's dark too, but the opening scene is like, whoa. Yeah, like wow. And then to me, it's just been like a nonstop series of like heightened, exciting events since then. I wanted to ask.
Well, comparatively, I mean, well, okay. First of all, we have a question for you before, then I'll talk about the cover of Daphne is chilling as heck. HE double hockey sticks. Who made that cover?
Man, I can't remember right now, and
It was Del Rey. Well, Del Rey's the publisher.
Yeah, right. And I don't know if it's
this is the cover that they're referring to.
Yeah,
I actually didn't
read Caroline Cunningham, but I don't know if that means that she designed the book or did the actual design of the cover. I think she did though. Caroline Cunningham, I think is the right.
It looks like it's a photograph. You know what I mean? Doesn't it look like a photograph that
well,
they kind of like
split? It looks like Allison a little bit. That's one of the strangest things about that to me. Like
kind of the bone structure seems.
Yeah, it's like a similar. You know the Allison woman of 1,000 faces. Like this could be Allison. Yeah, I knew she was haunting me.
Cut half of it off like that.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, so it reads like Jennifer says. It reads like a fast-paced crime novel at the beginning. Yeah. So, yes. Okay. So the deal with the book so this was my first genre novel, right? So I'd written 3 literary novels. Literary, I'm using quotes. And then when I started writing horror fiction in 2015 with Alter and Mother and all that stuff, this was my first crack at a genre novel. So this was my first time writing a horror novel, and I kind of wanted to kitchen sink it. I wanted to have I wanted all the Stephen King stuff from my childhood, and I wanted like the telepathic kids. I wanted the creature in the woods. I wanted the remote abandoned farmhouse. I wanted all that fun stuff, and then I also wanted to make it like a crime, procedural almost, which is kind of how, to Jennifer's point, there's 2 threads which you're probably getting into now. There's the Henry thread, which is all about the kidnapping and the creature and what's happening at the farmhouse, and then there's sort of like the thread with his guardians, his aunt and uncle, and the FBI. Have you gotten to the FBI agent yet? Have you gotten to Sally?
Yeah, I love
Sally's
him.
there. Yeah, he's an interesting character, right?
He's like I feel it in my shoes. And they're like, why did you say that about your shoes? He's like, well, it's just, something quirky. Yeah, but no. But I love that. I love how like the confidence. I mean, again, I don't know if that confidence is going to wane, but the confidence with which he is like, I'm here to solve this. Like, we're going to make this. We're going to get him back. And I love all that. It almost feels more Coen Brothers to me than it does, like Stephen King or something. And I understand the elements you brought up with the EP and stuff like that. But it has more of a like potentially hapless like criminal, because Liam is already, well, I don't want to like ruin stuff, but Liam is already possibly a little too sympathetic. and there's a few Jenny is maybe a little too sociopathic. and I'm like, this almost has like all the makings for like this could go totally wrong.
I see what you're saying, and it's funny you say that because I wasn't sure what you meant when you said Coen Brothers, but you mean like, right? Is there going to be a Mexican standoff bloodbath that kind of thing happening at the and I won't spoil anything, but the second half of the book, the last third of that book really just turns into a shit show. So I'm excited for you to get to that point, but it's a lot of fun. It was so much fun world build because I'll tell you, and then I want to talk about Daphne a little bit, but I'll tell you what was interesting, and you'll find this interesting, I think. And I think we even talked about this years ago. But my first agent was like, "Whoa, this is crazy! You can't write this, 100 and 200,000 word horror crime novel because it needs to be like it needs to be like 85,000 words. I think we should get rid of all the horror stuff, just make it crime." And you really, it should be more like the Wolf in the White Van kind of thing. And I'm like, well, if you want Wolf in the White Van, then you should hire the Mountain Goats guy to write a book, because that's not the book I want to write. I want to write a big, wild horror, old school horror novel. And I don't have that agent anymore. I have a new agent, but who loved the novel. But yeah, it's interesting. I just kind of was like stuck with my vision. I was like, that's not the book I want to. That's not the book I want to write.
Well, haven't you noticed that, like in a general sense, and I'm having these conversations with writers and filmmakers like seemingly daily, where it seems like something has caught up with the genre, or the genre has caught up to something where an agent would have said that a while ago, and you might have actually considered like, is it crazy for me to do this? Like maybe
Is this a terrible idea?
right? Is
Yeah.
this? And then now it's like, no, are you kidding me? That's exactly what everyone wants. Is like the wilder, the better. The like a 600 page. Is it really 200,000 words? By the way,
No, it's 175,000.
175. That's wow. That's a lot. That would be the second longest book I ever wrote if I had that. Anyway, so it's like
How many words is Ghoul? How many words is Ghoul in the Cave?
Ghoul in the Cave is
300, 500,000.
Yeah. Yeah, 300. I remember making it to 150 and being like, "Whoo, I'm only halfway done." You know?
I have so much more to go. This is going to be a whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So, but that is interesting, right? Because it's like the movies that are like doing well right now, and like a lot of them are really like far out. I understand like Halloween Ends, and that's a franchise and stuff like that. But like, there's movies where if you just read the description of them, X, Pearl. I mean, and that's just even brand new, recent. There's for the last few years, it seems like that it's more. And even in like the daily meetings that Ryan Lewis and I have with people, I'm sure same with you. It seems like people are okay. Here's a great example: is that Carpenter's Farm, when when Ryan and I were first talking to people about it, it seemed like we were describing this crazy idea to them, and now the meetings that we have with them, it seems like it's like exactly what's happening right now in the horror world. So it is interesting that you ran into that and are not only have a new agent now, but are releasing this now, and it feels like completely 100% right. I mean, it would have been right back then, but it feels 100% right now.
Well, yeah, it's that high concept hook, right? That's
Right.
what everybody's itching for now, especially in the adaptation game, because short stories, as you well know, as you and I both well know, we talk about it all the time, is like they want that crazy, easy, but crazy high concept hook, and then they'll build it out from there. And so, yeah, I think high concept is like which has always been kind of the I think it's always been kind of an indie thing, right? Like an A20,
Right.
talking film for a second, A24,
Right.
Neon, all that kind of stuff. And now it's definitely becoming more of a mainstream, and that's probably because, and I wrote an article about this recently. It's probably because streaming and all the channels, and there's so much content, and everybody's making movies, and horror's so cheap to make, frankly, right? And um, and then I think that's now beginning to carry over into the fiction world, where now it's like, okay, we're open to more diversity, we're open to more high concept stuff, we're open to crazier ideas. To your point, because we can see it's having success. We see the success that these films are having, and now there's no reason not to carry that over into fiction. I mean, Daphne's a perfect example. I mean, a 7-foot women's basketball player's serial killer is like the worst elevator pitch of all time, but it's but it's amazing.
No, that's not the worst. The worst pitch of all time is Pearl. That is on this Today of the Pig. That was the book where I would be sitting at a bar and a friend would be like, "What are you writing right now?" And I'd be like, "Oh man, I don't know how to explain this to you." I'd be like, "Well,
Yeah, let me finish my drink. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. That's what you say.
yeah."
But yeah, how do you telepathic pig says it all.
Telepathic Pig, who discovers the extent of his mental powers on this day that the entire book is 24 hours. But okay, so it does make me wonder though, because there was a time, obviously where there was like 5 channels on TV, and when movies were just studios as opposed to streamers. It's almost like not only I'm like 2 thoughts are coming to me. One is that there are more outlets, and so there's more of a chance for something far out to slip through the cracks. And if enough of those do slip through the cracks, it starts to become like, wow, this is what people actually want, right? There's that. It's like people are actually. The other thing is, a lot of us were like reared on like the straighter story, and I understand, my God, we were reared on the craziest stories as well. But
No,
we're
but as
all-
you're talking about film and TV,
right. And then we're all like of an age now where we're the ones telling the stories, and we don't want to just repeat Friday the 13th. We don't want to just repeat a movie. So we're all like the genre is like naturally stretching. I don't know when Bird Box first came out, and when were you talking about when you were talking to that agent about A Child Alone? What year was that?
that was like 2018, I want to say.
Oh, okay. I would say even right around that almost seems like the perfect time. Like right since then, it's been, or even more recent, maybe the last couple years, it's been like more elastic or something. So that's interesting. I didn't mean to go off on that whole side.
No,
side
it's
on that.
interesting. No, and even slasher stuff now, it's like it has to be ironic in a way, almost. Like it has to be Friday, or was that the movie? Was the Vince Vaughn movie Friday? Is that right? Or no, Freaky. Freaky?
Right? Wasn't it just called Freaky? Right?
Yeah, what are the Vince Vaughn movie? And Happy Death Day or whatever. Like now, all right, and Scream even. I mean, Scream was the first ironic slasher, but so yeah, and even like Stephen Graham Jones slasher books they're not really traditional slashers, right? And so yeah, everything has to sort of be modernized, but the sandbox is definitely broadened. Like,
well, I mean, even the beauty of that is that if all these stretchy, elastic things are happening, these far out ideas, these far out concepts, then it's even refreshing to do a straight story in the middle of all that. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the stretch too. And I think that every now and then, and tell me if you have felt this way in your writing career so far. So there will be like, the craziest idea I have. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's roll. But then every now and then I'll be like, I just want to throw a fastball. I just want to throw a fastball down the middle. And I feel like Bird Box was that for me. I feel like One Last Transformation was that for me. And I feel like Daphne is that for me, where it was like, you know what? It's not like I want to remind the genre that I read horror. Not quite like that. But it's just more like, I just want to throw a fucking ball down the middle, Like Ghoul in the Cape is like a total knuckleball that probably didn't even matter if it crossed the plate or not. I might have thrown it behind my back. But Daphne, I'm like, you know what? No, sometimes it just feels good to just gun it down the middle. And do you have moments like that too?
Well, that's interesting because I'm in the very complex early stages of coming up with when I did the Nightfire deal, it was, as you know, because we celebrated, it was two book deal. And the first book is done. And the first book, Boys in the Valley, is kind of a fastball. It's a possession horror story. And I'm kind of, with this next story, I'm kind of like, it's funny because I've had that inner dialogue. It's like, I can go one of two ways with this. I can try and elevate it, quote unquote, to bring in some different concepts, to make it maybe a little more cosmic, to maybe do something with the story that's a little more unexpected, or I can just, use your verbiage, I can just throw a fastball down the middle of the plate and just make it like a balls out horror novel where it's just like, look, there's three guys, there's a witch, it's a civil war, these guys are AWOL, and it's just going to be a gore.
By the way, I caught the Shiloh reference in A Child that they were reading in class. What was his name, Beverly or Betty or something, whatever. When the kid starts reading page 129 of the textbook, which was, that old Civil War battle, Shiloh, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a spin of black. I think there's a spin about black yarn.
Was there? Wait, in the first 200 pages?
You might have gotten to it. And I think it's in Child. It's in one of my books. I put a spin of black yarn in there randomly. I also put an Easter egg in Child and in there for Rapture Brewing, Mitch's company. There's a guy in a bar and he's looking at his beer selections, and one of the things is Rapture Brewing. But so anyways, point being is I'm trying to like decide, like maybe I just want to be a fastball down the middle, to your point. I just want to like write a horror novel. I'm not going to try and elevate it. I'm not going to try and make it something bigger or more complicated or more convoluted. I'm just going to like rock it and see how it goes. And so I'm debating that.
And I want to point that out I want to point out though to anyone that might be watching, that there's an art to both, like, meaning it's not just like, oh, you know what, I've extended myself enough, I'm just gonna have a werewolf rip everyone's face off, you know. No. Like, there's like, that actually sounds really fun right now, but like there's like yes,
okay.
sounds great, sounds amazing, but there is an art to both. So even when the moment comes where it's like, no, I just want to gun this, even then though, what does that mean? And not to think too lofty, but like Kubrick says, I'm gonna make a horror movie, right? And it's still like him. It's still entirely him. And so same thing with you and me and anyone that's writing. So, okay, Whitty Books. Have either of you written, and I don't have my glasses on, this is interesting. Have either of you written something so, does that say disturbing? Disturbing, that you felt the need to rewrite the sequence or story? My guess is that if you wrote something that disturbing, you would have not touched it. You would be like, this stays.
No. Yeah,
So
I don't know. I'm actually, no, when I write something so disturbing that I'm like, oof, this is really pushing the envelope, I'm like, there's a little part of me that's going like, hooray, and like moving on. So yeah, no, I'm good with that.
That's what I said. I said my guess, you would leave it. You would be like, that stays.
Look, I just wrote a story. I just wrote a story about a guy who I just wrote a 9,000 word story. This thing, I think I sent you one of these. Which about the whole thing takes place in a bathtub, and the fate of Nero. And Nero, about 10 pages into the story, Nero goes up the guy's behind, and the majority of the story takes place with the snake inside of this guy. I mean, so that was the one moment where I was kind of like, geez, is this too far? No. What about you? I can't imagine you've had that moment.
It's more like,
has Del Rey ever pushed back on anything? Has your publisher ever pushed back on you about anything and been like, well,
not like that. No, not like that. I think they'd probably even welcome some more than that. You know, Ryan Lewis and I were talking recently, like, Josh, when's the last time you had a sex scene in a book? You know, it's like, you know, I suddenly felt like I was like on a couch. I'm like, doctor, here's why I don't write about sex scenes. You know, I'm a very horny man who never writes about sex, you know, like, you know, but it's like, and then even Allison was like, with your new book, could you write a sex scene in there, you know? And then I'm like, yeah, maybe, you know, but, you know, so I think Del Rey would almost even welcome something more. For me, it's more like this. I think about, I think it was like Ketchum or whoever it is. I mean, everyone kind of says it, but, you know, that disturbing idea, the one that you think that you shouldn't write, you should. But the truth is, I have one that I think I shouldn't. Like, I have one. I have an idea that is so fucking disturbing to me, and I'm like, no, you should not do that. Do not write that book. Never get to the point where you write that book. And I'm not gonna even talk, I'm not gonna even say what it is right now. No way in hell. And like, and there's like, and it'll cross my mind. Usually, like between books, it'll cross my mind because like, it's almost like something in my head's like, do you do it now? And it's like, no. And I wonder, like, someone like Ketchum would be like, that's my next book.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's interesting. Well, I'm dying to know what it is, first of all, but also that's interesting because, and I don't want to get too into this subject because it's boring, but it is, you're going to hate that I say this, but a writer does have to sort of think about a little bit that kind of thing as it pertains to, I don't want to say the word brand.
No, I knew you were going to say the word brand.
But as it pertains to readership. Now, I've written some really effective things, and I get a lot of, you know, people get upset about it. And I'd be lying if I said I don't think about that when I'm writing novels that I am thinking about have the potential to be more mainstream. And when I say potential to be more mainstream, what I mean is I like this idea, and I think it would be I would like to see a lot of people access it. And I think if you can sort of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit if you do something really if you're coloring way outside the lines, you know, as far as it pertains to like that kind of stuff, you have to think about it at least. But or you just go for it and be like, hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? That's this book.
Because a lot of our favorite novels, and I'm not talking just the sewer and it, a lot of our favorite novels that were very popular have moments where I'm like, oh shit, you know, or movies where I'm like, oh shit, like would I have done that? I think I definitely know what you mean, because it almost, in a sense, it almost feels like you'd be like going out in different clothes or something. You would be like, you
Well,
know,
that's
like this is not my style or something. But if it
well,
is an idea of yours, maybe it is your style. And what about writing it and then just putting it in a drawer? But I don't know.
so you say you can write it for yourself, and
I don't even think I
I
could
mean,
do that.
Stephen King wasn't going to publish Pet Cemetery, right? Because it was like he was like it was in the drawer and the whole thing, and the only reason he published Pet Cemetery was because he owed a book to whoever it was, Doubleday or whatever, and so he's like, okay, fine,
Mhm.
publish Pet Cemetery, but he was like, this is too dark, I can't.
How bizarre.
So,
That's so bizarre, because that book fits right in. It like literally fits right into me with everything else of that brilliant
I
era.
know, I agree. Did you read The Outsider? Did you read The Outsider?
Yeah.
So you remember the okay, so in the okay, so in The Outsider, King had a moment where I was like, whoa, Uncle Steve,
Wait,
whoa.
which one? What was it?
Why it's horrible, but it was like when the monster was like using a stick to rape
Oh
children.
no, yeah. No. Yep. I
And
remember.
I was like, whoa, that's hardcore,
But
man.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
If I put that into a story, I would be crucified on social
no,
media.
there's a lot of things, you know, there's a lot of things with that guy. You know, that guy can tweet something that if I tweeted, I would be like crucified, you know.
I know.
It's like, yeah, I know. A lot going on there. But it's
Anyway, but that's a pretty dark, right? That's a pretty dark. That's something that if I'd written that, I'd been like, I better tone that back.
okay.
Even I would have.
There's also this to that. I have this natural sort of thing, and I want to answer this Whitty Books question in a second. We will.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I didn't see it, yeah.
But wow, you and I, and this is amazing. We've only just begun, by the way. We
I
haven't.
know, everybody's like,
we haven't really
what are
like
they talking
about our books yet. Yeah. No. But I do have like this like side of me too, where it's like I like the things that really thrill me. Like I always think about it this way. Is that like sex and violence are already knives. And like, so if you cut me with those, like, all right, that could be brilliantly done, but I was also expecting blood. If you cut me with something else, and I don't know what that, let's say that the car ride in I'm Thinking of Ending Things. If I'm like totally unsettled just in the fucking car ride, like what am I being cut with right now? I don't even know. That's when I get
Right.
really unsettled. So typically an idea that is too disturbing, typically when that question is asked, they're not asking if you have a mood or an atmosphere that's too disturbing. They're talking typically about a violent moment, right? How about this? A brutal moment. And
yeah.
And right. So with that in mind, it's less for me of like, oh, you know, it's less prudish. And it's more like, can I think of something like cooler than this?
Yeah.
Like more like clever, not clever, but something cooler, like more haunting, more unsettling for a reason we don't know. Like that. That's what stops me more rather than the brand or this or that. Is like, can't we come up with something, you know, more unsettling without like a landmark to make it unsettling?
Well, that's the whole argument of, you know, the monster you don't see is always scarier than the monster you see, right? Like that's the whole. If I sit there and describe a creature to you over the course of 3 pages, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, I got it. It's not that scary. But if I give you like a couple elements, right? 6 legs, insectile head, black glassy eyes that can see, whatever. All of a sudden, your mind is blowing up with imagery that is all worst case. Your individual worst case scenario. Your subjective worst case scenario.
A Rorschach test, a Horseshack test. Anyway, go on.
A Horseshack. You're thinking of Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah, Horseshack test.
Right.
So one of the questions one of the questions I have. Let's answer their question. Yeah.
Is there a subgenre of horror that you are not at all interested in or don't feel like you could write? A subgenre of horror. What would that be? Like a slasher or like a? I don't know what the subgenre is. I don't know. I can't write quiet horror. I'm not very good at. Well, I don't know. Maybe I can. I don't know.
I you know,
I don't know what subgenres of horror really
I mean,
would
like,
indicate.
like I've always felt like a little odd, like stepping into somebody else's world. So I can't imagine doing like a Cthulhu story or like a Cthulhu
Yeah.
mythos. Like you know what I mean? I can't really
Me
admit
neither.
like good for anyone that has, that's great. And then there's genius ones. I just it feels unnatural to me to step into someone else. I did it for one thing. I did it for the Joe Lansdale anthology that was about the orbit, the drive-in.
The driving, yeah.
Write a story at the orbit, and Lansdale is such a just an amazing writer and personality and all that. I was like, yeah, let's do this. But in a general sense, I'm not really one to step into someone else's world, not out of ego, just out of like, that's your world, this is mine, and wherever the twain shall meet, right? So that would be one, like the Cthulhu thing. Another subgenre for me might be like
pastiche is not something that I am interested in, but yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Explain.
Well, you've done serial killers, you've done werewolves. I mean, we're talking tropes kind of now more than.
Oh yeah.
But I did a vampire story, which I never thought I would do. That came out in an anthology this past year, and I really enjoy. I actually really enjoyed it. There's something really interesting about taking something that is pre-existing, and I'm kind of contradicting what you just said, but in a way, but kind of pre-existing and kind of creating a completely new perspective on it or a completely fresh take on it as a more
or the water just feels
like
good.
Your
right?
werewolf story was very much a fresh take on the werewolf legend, right? It was the one that won the Stoker.
The one that won.
So I think.
Cheers to that.
that in there for you. You're a Stoker award winning. But yeah, so I think there's something fun about that, and I think Lisa, and I think I mentioned this when you and I spoke on the Dark Word podcast, and I refer to it a lot because it's really one of the things that stuck with me was that what Lisa Morton said about writing when she was talking about writing anthologies, and I was like, does it bother you to, or is it hard for you to write something that's when they're giving you a very specific category, like a very specific trope, and she was like, no, because for me it's exciting because I'm not just writing a vampire story, I'm writing a Lisa Morton vampire story or whatever it is. And I thought that was a really interesting take because that's kind of what I like about like your work, and guys like Larry Barron and Paul Trevor, we like to see like their take. I mean, like Cabin at the End of the World is a perfect example. Paul's take on the home invasion. Paul's take on the home invasion novel.
But I would argue that like you, me, Paul, I don't really see us as, even though Paul did a possession and did a home invasion, I still don't see us as just taking the trope and turning it.
Not just as.
No.
But
Right. But just meaning that like it almost took somebody else saying that Cabin was a home invasion for me to realize that's what it was, if that makes sense. Right. And so like, but it's also like we love these movies, we love these books. I just read like I think I'm looking at it right now, like 12 of the Vampire Chronicle novels. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love this shit. Like, so then it's like to jump into those waters actually is like fun and it feels like good. And then, so I understand. So, and also if you're writing a ton, I feel like it's only inevitable that you will do these things. Stephen King, Cycle of the Werewolf, Salem's Lot, right? I mean, it's only inevitable that you're going to touch like tropes in some way or another. Because even if you're the most far out you can be, the trope then becomes like bizarro or cosmic, right? So, right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are there any of your books that you would like to see adapted for a video game? I mean, all of them. I would like to see a bunch of kids try to escape the Parenthood and Inspection. That sounds like the worst video game ever.
I'm just trying to think of your books and video games. I'm trying to think what would be a good Malerman video game. I don't know.
Go on the Cape, man. The ultimate road trip. You gotta like drink.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Ghoul in the Cave probably fits the best because it has that epic like world. You know, it's a situation where it's an epic journey, right? Where you have to go from one end to the other, and there's a destination and there's a goal. You're not 100% sure what the goal is per se, but when you get there, kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think any of my novels would be good video games. I don't think anyone wants to see a Boys in the Valley video game.
They would all be
Kill
like
all your other friends.
Think about it in terms of like the virtual reality video game, think about it in those terms, right? Because then on Barry Carroll going up the trail or Bird Box blindfolded in the, if you have amazing surround sound and you're like going down a river or whatever, like they have those all sound like, and I would never think of these things as video games, but all of a sudden they make sense when you think of it in terms of like VR or something.
You never had any Bird Box video game bites?
There was something
that you can talk about.
Yeah, no, there was something that was like had come up and I was like so excited about it. And it was a kind of a funny moment because harken back to when the book was like first picked up in the first place. And Kristen, my agent, there was a moment in the contract negotiations where it was like not that they would have video rights or video game rights or whatever, but she was staunchly that we retain those. And I remember at the time being like, video game rights, man. I I'm like, I can't even like, Kristen, I'm gonna like do a backwards like backflip if this even gets on a shelf. Video game, And then
I'm just glad it's getting published. Let's call it a spade here.
Right. I'm Kristen, I'm playing a video game called Let's Get Published right now, man.
No, but I'm surprised you had a publisher that asked for. I guess I'm trying to if they throw it in there. I mean, there's a lot of those clauses where they just like list a bunch of stuff, and you have to, and maybe they throw video games in there. And what I always think is funny about publishing contracts is when they make such a big deal about stage rights, and I'm like, no, I don't give a shit. Like, if somebody wants to make a play out of no,
it almost feels
like I'm really gonna is this the hill I'm gonna die on? No, like
it almost feels like a holdover from like 1940. That like aspect of everything. It's like the stage. What do you mean the stage of Buster?
And this is a Broadway show.
Yeah. Yeah, but then again,
the musical.
Yeah. That is, but that is actually like my ultimate fantasy, as we've talked about before, is to own a horror theater and to have horror stage plays, this kind of thing. When are we getting
like Penny Dreadful? You could open in Michigan. You could open a brand new state of the art Penny Dreadful.
Dude, I went to Allison and I, or did she go with me? I don't know, but I went to there was an amazing theater in Hamtramck, Michigan, which is an island city, which is meaning
did you not buy it? Or you did buy it?
You know Hamtramck.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Hang out there, but
for the viewers, when Hamtramck is an island.
It's a really cool theater there, right? The movie theater.
Planet Ant.
Where they show. Yeah.
And then it's like that's like it's a city that's completely surrounded by Detroit. So it's its own city, but it's literally completely surrounded by Detroit. And I went and saw this amazing place there, but it was almost like too amazing. It honestly was. It was like this like bar and the theater upstairs, and I'm like, holy shit, man! I'm not like looking to run a nightclub. You know what I mean? I want to I want to have a theater, and I do want booze and like this stuff there. But this felt like next level. You know what I mean? Like 10.
Well, you make the second floor your offices, and that's
no. There was a whole back.
But did you have to go to Hamtramck?
There was a whole back area with like 10 offices and cubicles and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I was just like, man, this is like, but maybe, now that I'm talking about it, I wish I would have got it. Okay. Joshua Poblano. I don't have my glasses. I hope I said that right. When are we getting a Fracassi Malerman novel?
Oh, man. Yeah, have you ever co-written? You and I have discussed this. Have you ever co-written something? We talked about it. We were like, how would that even work? Right? Like you would have to. I don't know how Straub and King did it for like a novel like the Talent. Like did they just like like send the manuscript back and forth or whatever.
Yeah.
I
I read that they would fax each other like 100 pages at a time and stuff.
Okay, we'll just do that, Josh.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
just fax you.
that actually sounds kind of amazing to get like.
I'll fax you, but I don't want it on sheet. I want the roll. I want the old fax roll,
Yes.
Jack Kerouac style.
Yeah.
And make all your edits, and then fax it back to me.
Look, it's already on the toilet roll in your bathroom. So the next time you use the bathroom, be careful before you do anything. Check it out. I already sent you 100 pages. It's on the spindle or whatever you'd call it in your bathroom.
Right. The spindle. That would be, yeah. I always think it's interesting when people talk about co-writing stuff because the only thing I've ever done, I co-wrote a screenplay with Laird Barron.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but it's not public, so don't tell anybody.
Okay, I won't tell anybody.
I'm just now realizing that I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's okay. But yeah, the point is,
real fast. Let's get to that. I just want to point out, I'm the kind of guy that thinks that any event like this, you're allowed to say stuff that you're not allowed to say.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
all right.
it was actually really interesting because what I just did like a full spill. And then he went and put in a bunch of stuff, and then I kind of added to that. So that seemed almost because screenwriting is so many people co-write screenplays, obviously much more than fiction, which is a very solitary pursuit. So it wasn't that weird. But I can't. It would be weird to do. The only thing I could imagine doing, fiction wise, would be like I could see maybe doing like a novella, but a novel would be like a thing. Like that would be a deal.
Yeah, that would be a thing, man. Like
a year long. I mean, it'd be fun, but it'd be interesting. But it would be. I don't know how it would.
I almost feel like that 100-page installment is like a reasonable way to do it. Actually, like because the chapter feel too much like. And now it's my turn, and now it's your turn, and now it's my turn. Yeah. Whereas if you had like a moment, if you had like a really extended sort of. This is me, and then oh wow, and then I'm adding 200, and then to get to 700-800 pages together in that way, that almost makes more sense to me.
800 pages.
Sure, I mean 400 each.
What are we writing? A trilogy?
No.
Yeah, that would be
part of the ring.
And then I could see going back and doing like offering suggestions, maybe to like, maybe instead of this, but I would also feel like really weird about saying like, "Hey, Josh, I don't know if this paragraph works," and then you'd be like, "What?" And then I'd be like, "What?" And then I'd be weird. Writers are sensitive. Okay, but I'd be okay with that.
I feel like once you have, and this is something I've learned from the band, once you have
great analogy.
Right, once you have mutual respect, which we already do, then it's like. What are we really talking about here? So if me and Mark are writing songs and he says this, or if I say a song lyric and he's like, I think we can get something better. I say to myself, he's right. We can get something better.
Right.
And if he says to me like this change, I'm like, wait, what about like a 7th instead? He's not like, I didn't come up with this. He's like, oh, thank God Josh was here to come up with it. So I think if you look at it that way, once there's like the mutual respect established, then it's not only like doable, but it's actually like, oh shit, I'm glad this guy's here.
And I also think it'd be really fun. I also think it'd be really interesting because it would. I think it'd be interesting to like to combine voices. Like when you read, I don't know if I noticed it so much in Talisman, but when I read Black House, for example, I don't know if you read Black House, but it's very Strauby, and then it's very Kingy. And then it's very Strauby, and you do know much more than so in Talisman. You do kind of know, like, okay, Peter wrote this part. It's obvious, and it's I don't know, but it was such. But then by the time the book got, first of all, it's a great book. You should totally read it. It's really good. And then when you get to the I loved it.
This is making me want to read it. All right, cool.
Oh, you read the Talisman?
Oh yeah.
So yes. For some reason, it has kind of I think it has a bit of a rep of not being a really good book, but I love it. I thought it's hard. You gotta work a bit at the beginning. You have to kind of get through some stuff, but then once it goes, man, it's a lot of fun. It's classic.
The editor that edited Bird Box edited Black House.
No shit.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well,
and the editor,
kudos to them.
the
Ask
editor,
them ask them why they didn't cut the first 20 pages. Okay. Joan wants to know. She'd love to know your favorite books, Josh.
Oh,
You can start.
I mean,
That's a tough one.
I don't
Well,
really
you read a lot of horror,
yeah.
obviously.
But my favorites are more like, oh my god, I'm a million. I'll just say that Moby Dick's probably the most electrifying thing I've ever read in my entire life.
You and I remember we were going back and forth when you were reading Moby Dick. Man, that's
I was out of my mind, and those are my favorite.
Crazy.
Yeah, and those are my favorite reading experiences. Like Poe, is like that. Whitman is like that. I think some Henry Miller is like that. Dostoevsky's, Brothers Karamazov is like that, where you're like reading it. I would even argue, because I just read it recently, Riddles in the Dark in The Hobbit, the scene where Bilbo meets Gollum and gets the ring, that whole scene, where it's like a scene that's like so electrifying that you're like almost like breathless. It's like literally like you're so excited. It's not just great. It's not just thrilling. It's that step beyond of like you're in the presence of either a personality or a work of art or a lover or whatever it is that is like breathtaking. And for me, Moby Dick was that for me. Obviously, it and a million other horror novels, but I don't think I've ever experienced the electricity I felt at the end of Moby Dick.
Yeah, there's something really magical about that book, and it's like and it's funny because people talk about it like they're like, oh my god, like 10 pages of him describing rope or whatever, right? But I was like, this is awesome. Like it's like he's literally describing rope for like 2 pages.
No, I know.
Yeah. Do you ever read? You and I've talked about this. I don't know if I can't remember. I can't remember what you said. Have you read the Magus by John Fowles?
No, I want to. You're the one that told me about it, right? When we were talking.
Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite books. Wait,
is it like that too? It's like total like next level electricity shit.
It's different. It's different. No, it's not Moby Dick. It's more like honestly, I think it was also when I read it, I hadn't really ever read. It's kind of like the first. I think for a lot of people, it was probably similar to when they first read like Heart of Darkness. You're kind of like thinking you're reading like, oh, I'm reading this like it's like reading Paul Bowles. You're like, oh, I'm reading literature. This is going to be like very literature-y. And then you're like, what? You can't. What? Like, what are you doing? You can't do that. It's horror. It's straight up horror, right?
Yeah.
And like Let It Come Down by Paul Bowles was like the biggest shock of my life because I was like, this is horror. This is like horrible. Paul Bowles wrote a short story called shit. What was it called? It's a very famous short story, something Pray. But it's about these guys walking through the desert. Obviously, it's Paul Bowles. And it has one of the most graphic, disturbing violent scenes I've ever read in any book ever, period. Delicate Prey. Thank you, Philip.
Oh, I know that.
Delicate Prey.
Title, yeah.
Yeah, read that story. And I think I've actually messaged you after I read it. Remember, I was like, dude, read the Delicate Prey.
And the jaunt.
It's
so. You wrote me about the jaunt last night, and I kind of wish that I had done it last night, but I didn't. But I was
reading it
alone. No, I was reading A Child Alone, and then I've also been actually reading The Hobbit. Well, and so yeah.
It's always best to read my work versus Stephen King. But the but the Jaunt's a great story just as a side. But I finished the Jaunt recently. I reread it for the first time in probably 20 years or whatever, and that's why I wanted you to read it because I was like, this is a great.
About. I mean, don't even tell me because I have Skeleton. It's in Skeleton Crew, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that like right up on the shelf. But it's like to me, and it's almost like you can equate what we're talking about right now to a band, right? Where it's like, and I keep saying that, but it totally makes sense. Which is like, it's almost more important to me, like I'll be thinking about like the greats in horror, and I'm thinking of like Lovecraft, and I'm thinking about Stephen King, but it's almost impossible to touch the like fire, the energy of Poe. It's almost like impossible. Like the level, and I don't know what that is, whether it's heart or spirit or madness or whatever it is. And the same thing with Whitman, whether it's inspiration, but it is interesting how to use different words for him than Poe. And Melville, the same thing, and his seemed to be a little more disordered and helped by Hawthorne, these kind of things.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, that to me is like the ultimate, I don't want to say goal, but like that's what I want to do to someone.
Right. Well, what's interesting about those guys, Irving Washington,
Yeah.
Poe, Hawthorne, Whitman, Paul Bowles, and even Jane Bowles' wife. They they wrote in a time where what they were doing was so isolated from everything else. You know what I mean? It was so contradictory to what everyone else was writing at that time, that it didn't flower, if you will, until they were ahead of their time. Is the easy way to say it, right? And it does make you wonder what you could do, and it's almost like a bit of a drag, right? That Mary Shelley was talking about Frankenstein, but we could go back to the Adolfo and all that stuff, Radcliffe, but it makes you think, like, what could you do now, to your point, that would be perceived as basically groundbreaking or ahead of its time? And all I can think about is, I see it less as storytelling and more as the delivery, and more in the way you tell it.
Exactly.
The prose.
100%.
Guys like
100%.
Guys like Pinchon and Gaddis, and
Yep.
those guys were
Yep.
doing Volman, right? Like, those guys are doing stuff that's like, that'll be, I mean, it's appreciated now, but I think it'll be really, studied. I mean, that's what what's his face, Finnegan's Wake guy.
Yep. Dude,
James Joyce.
100%.
Yeah.
Could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
I could not agree with you more. And you've got me now thinking about not only isolated, but like literally like without the same amount of influence. And then you could even go to the obvious example would be a Thoreau, right? Like where it's like
Yeah.
an intentional isolation, intentionally
Right.
not influence. And what does someone come up with? And this conversation is making me want to like not go live on a pond, but maybe get offline. So okay, Ross Jeffrey. Hello, Ross Jeffrey. What's
Ross.
this is a fun question. And you go first. What's the scariest scene to you that you've written? Ooh. That's fun.
The scariest scene that I've written? That's a tough one. I think I'd probably say Alter. My short story Alter, I think, probably has, when I wrote about that, what happens in that pool, that was pretty dark. And I think I remember at the time being like, oof, boy, this is going to get me in trouble. And it did. But that was probably.
Have you ever had a moment, Philip, where you're like writing in your office and then you're like, you kind of like, you kind of gotta like get out of the office and go see someone, see your girl, see your son. Like you kind of like maybe even put on a fucking Christmas movie because like you screwed yourself up in the office.
Yeah, I need some Danny Kaye right now.
Yeah,
stat.
I'm serious. Like I've had moments like that where I'm like, whoo, yeah, man. Let's So let's watch,
Yeah, I think with Boys in the Valley, I had a couple of those moments where I was like, I had to step away for a minute, where I was kind of like, this is great, and now I need to go like pet my cat and kiss my kid, and then come back to it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you do. What about you? What was your darkest scene? Before you answer, I want to give you some quick props. I still say to this day, if anybody asks me, which they have, and I hate pointing to your first published novel because I know the birth scene of Bird Box is probably the most perfect horror scene one of the most perfect horror scenes ever written. If there was a master class on writing terrifying horror fiction, that scene would be in the syllabus, because that scene is written so perfectly, and it's so scary, and it's so like you're like, and then this, and there's this. Oh, by the way, this guy's doing this thing, and also you're like, you don't like you're shocking the reader. There's like a twist in there, and there's the storm, and it's just like, and the baby. That scene is so perfect. I mean, the book is wonderful and perfect in so many ways, but that scene stands out to me always as an example. When people ask me in a podcast or an interview, whatever, they're like, "What's an example of like something where you're like blown away?" But I'm like, that scene is like a master class in horror fiction. But now you can answer the question about your.
Thank you. And also, by the way, I'm one of those people where I can talk about Bird Box all day. Whereas someone would be like, I know you're probably not interested in, it's your first published. I'm like, dude, Bird Box is the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life, man. I can talk about that guy all day. Yeah, let's go. I would say,
I'm trying to think for you.
It's a scene from a book coming up called Incidents Around the House, where the family is trying to essentially get away from the thing in the house. And so Incidents Around the House actually ends up meaning numerous homes that they stay in. And there's one home that they stay in on the outskirts of Goblin. And it has nothing to do with Goblin. It's not like that they run into Walter Camp or Neil Nash while they're there. It's like the very outskirts of Goblin. They stay at someone's home. And there's a scene late at night in that book. And that's 2 books away with Del Rey that I had to get up and leave the office for a second. I was like this. I'm writing, and then it's like the music's playing and everything. And then I was like, Allison, just because I just needed her voice. I needed her voice. I needed the contact, and then she's like, well, and then I didn't hear her, and I'm like, Allison, and no and then I had to get up, leave the office, go find her, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing?
What's that? What's that you're working on? Something sweet and kind? Can I look at it for a while? Can I hold it? Yeah, I'm lucky I have cats, because I pick up the cats.
Yeah, well,
you have your beautiful dogs that
those
joyful.
Those are like living cartoons. It's hard to be very, very freaked out around them. But
right.
I will say this, and I just want to throw this out for, by the way, Ross is incredible. Who asked that question?
He's all right. Let's not go crazy.
He is. Stop it. But I will say
he's a great writer and a great guy. Ross is.
It's nice that we can scare ourselves. It's like it's a very big deal, I think, in the same way that I would hope, because every time you hear like a comedian is actually like the most like tortured like man, I'm like, okay, fine, but like I would actually like a comedian that's like feels fucking funny. And so it's nice to hear that like a horror author can actually scare himself or herself, like can actually freak himself out, and that's fun.
Yeah, and I also think that we're, and I was talking the other day about on a podcast or something, and they were like, "Do you scare yourself? Like, do you exactly?" And I said, when you write horror, you're opening up a lot of doors in your brain, right? Oh, thank you. You want to say hi to Josh?
Yes,
honey.
Yes. Hey.
Say hi.
Wow. Hey, you look great.
She's probably my blue label.
I gotta do a conference call.
She's working. Anyway, I said, you open a lot of doors that a lot of people keep closed. Meaning, you let your imagination run wild, right? And you let your imagination go to all the worst possible places. You have to do that in order to do your job, but that doesn't turn off when you're not doing your job. So when you're at home at night and the wind is blowing and the tree branch is tapping the window, you're not thinking like, oh, there's a tree branch tapping the window. You're like, holy shit, what monstrosity is out there trying to get into my house to tear me into pieces? And so you can't close those doors, is I guess my point. So it becomes, I do scare myself, not only when I'm writing, but because I've opened those doors when I'm not writing.
Yeah,
it continues.
No, Philip, there's an interesting thing in like the earliest of early days for me with writing, where with the band. We're playing, and I had tried to write books for 10 years, and I failed, and I finally wrote them. Oh, that looks good right now. You know what? Forget what I was saying. Let's have a shot of that.
Hand me your glass. I wish.
Ross, Jeffrey,
Next time I'm in town.
And if you are, let's do a shot.
Next time I'm in town, we're going to Alfie's, and we're going to have some Johnny Blue Walker. I know they got it.
First of all, Whitty Books, thank you so much for having us.
Oh yeah,
awesome. And I also feel like, and I hope you guys feel the same, that I feel like Philip and I need to actually come to the store and have an event similar to this at your store where we get hammered the whole time.
Yeah, please do, and maybe Rapture can do a specific beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
No pressure, bitch.
Yeah. Rapture Brewing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys?
Whitty Books, as you're right there, asked, what are you reading right now? I just want to point out I'm reading A Child Alone with Strangers right now. I'm, as I mentioned before, 206 pages in, and I absolutely love it. And it came out today, and I can't wait to read more. I cannot wait to see where this goes.
And I have read Daphne, and I actually did a review for Inner Zone magazine that's coming out in January. That was very positive. Spoiler alert, very positive. This is a wonderful book. Josh, I'm sorry, you guys want to say something, but this is a great book, and it goes right in line with what's interesting? So I read Pearl when it was Cemetery Dance Pearl, and then I read Pearl when it was Del Rey Pearl. Were there changes made to that book when you?
No, not one word.
Except I'm not saying better or worse, but it read very differently when I read the Del Rey edition.
Well, you
Is
read that
weird?
I
read it twice.
No, it's not weird because I feel like there's a different stage, different context of a limited edition. You know what I mean? Like an indie limited edition versus the wide release. It's a different context and a different title, which the title makes a difference.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think you also treat it differently in a way. As a reader, when you're reading a limited edition book, you're like, oh, this is every page sort of seems sanctimonious. You're like, oh, I really right. Mm-hmm. Take my time. And then when you're reading something where it's just a big pulpy trade hardcover, you're just in for the long haul. Maybe I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. But Pearl's another. I mean, that was another wonderful horror novel, and everybody should really get that as well. I love Pearl, and I love that. I think they fit right. Are they size wise? I don't have my copy of Pearl with me.
They are, but I feel like they fit bizarrely in another way too. They're squarely horror.
No, exactly right. Yeah, versus Inspection, which I loved, obviously, and Blur. But I thought that which is I don't think it's sci-fi. How would you even classify? I don't even know how you even classify. It's I drew comparisons to I believe Margaret. It was a couple years ago. I think I drew comparisons like Margaret Atwood, and it was what's his name? Remains of the Day guy.
Ishiguro.
Victoria, help me out.
Yeah.
Remains of the Day.
Yeah.
What was that guy's author? What was that author's name? I can't remember now off the top of my head. But
Ishiguro,
anyway,
right?
Ishiguro, yeah. But anyway, that was, I don't know what you'd call that. Fantastical realism.
I mean, or you just childhood trauma, but celebrated. Right. But if we ever make our way to Tulsa, I would love to celebrate childhood trauma with Mitch and Victoria.
Yeah, we'd love. You know what?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Victoria, we would love to have just now. We'd love to have a childhood trauma
honestly,
everybody
just
just up, and we just have a long therapy session.
Wow, I feel like. By the way, I feel like that was a whole hour and could have been 5, but here we are. Okay.
Yeah, I literally was sending a message to Victoria. I was like, I think they'll go on for 5 hours.
Yes, that would have kept going.
Are we getting the hook?
Yeah, we're getting the hook.
We can keep going.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for? Well, we want to do the giveaway, right? We have a giveaway.
Yeah, we wanted to do the giveaway, and I also wanted to ask Philip. Audio Hopper was very kind to let us use that song for the countdown, which was awesome.
Yes.
$80.
Great.
I just drank $80.
Oh, nice. I mean, it looked good. I hope it tasted good.
It was really good.
So we had a couple comments. Our comment thing was, for some reason, it wasn't coming through on StreamYard, so that's why we were having to ask the questions.
Okay.
But there were some questions about how you guys need to start a podcast. And I said, well, Philip has a podcast called The Dark Word, and Josh was on it. And so I just kind of wanted to plug that for you guys. And Philip, who are the next guests that you have coming up on The Dark Word?
Yeah, Josh was my season 2 first cast, and that's an amazing episode. We had a lot of fun talking about
great. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so the Dark Word, I really focus on just talking about like writing and the business of writing and the profession of writing and publishing and contracts and options and all that stuff, because it's really for writers. There's enough podcasts where we talk about writers' childhoods and all that kind of stuff. So I really wanted to be about writers. So I think what just launched today, I did a live event with Thomas Olde Hovelt. They just launched today. So that was a really different kind of podcast because we were live from the last bookstore here in LA, but we recorded it for the podcast. I think I have coming up Jeremy Robert Johnson, Catron Award, Ramsey Campbell, Gabino Iglesias.
Sounds amazing.
I think are coming up season.
Man, sounds great.
Yeah. It's a good lineup. Huh?
Sounds like
What?
the New York Yankees lineup.
I know. So that's going to be season 2. I ended up doing 12 episodes for season 2, and then I'm probably going to take a long break because I've got to write a book. But yeah, Josh's episode was really great, and all the episodes are available on Spotify and Apple and Amazon and Google and RSS and wherever you get your podcast. They're available. Yeah, Audio Hopper did a good job. They did a nice job with producing.
I love that podcast.
Are you doing the giveaway, Mitch, or no?
I was going to say we can either do the giveaway now, or if you guys want to continue talking for another 15 minutes or so, it's totally up to y'all.
No, I think we can do good. Josh, you want to do the giveaway? Or we could start writing a new book right now live.
No, I know.
Yeah, I think
I said let's do the giveaway. Yeah, sure. Let's do the giveaway.
Let's do the giveaway. Okay,
I'm also going to do another shot, and that was.
I drank mine.
Yeah, Josh, I brought this just to prove to you.
Wow.
What is that, Mitch? What are you drinking?
This is it's vodka, obviously, because it's Logan's.
Chilled vodka.
Josh.
Someone take
Chilled
a
vodka.
screenshot.
We'll screenshot. I like that we just sat there and held that moment for. That was special.
That was like romantic almost. I mean, it was borderline romantic. It really was. Okay,
I like a nice chilled sapphire Bombay Sapphire gin.
Mm-hmm.
A nice,
gin drinker over here.
If anyone wants to buy me a shot,
Wow.
future, I enjoy.
Come to Tulsa.
Yeah, no, Josh, we should go to Tulsa. Josh and I should do
Dude, I would love it.
Josh and I should do a tour. I'd love to see how that goes.
Well, okay. So Allison, real fast. My fiance Allison, like her, like life, like the greatest thing to her would be if we were like always traveling. But I'm the kind of guy that needs like an objective, right? And so then she brought up the idea of what if we're like we got an RV, blah blah blah, and then we just toured like bookstores, and I was like, oh, that's good. So then she gets the best of her world. Like we're constantly on the road, and I have like a sense of like progress, like a objective or whatever. So
yeah, and RV's better than like flying around and all that stuff too.
Well, I like flying now too. I used to hate it, but anyway.
Do you really? I don't like
it now, yeah, because we can just get drunk and watch a movie, you know.
Yeah, that's
which is I feel like what I did tonight.
Yeah, I like the RV bookstore thing. Also, you can go to used bookstores, which is funny. You never go hunting.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I go hunting. All right, Mitch, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was like, should we do the giveaway? And then you guys just started talking. I was like, we can leave. This is
Right. I know.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so full transparency. Never done this before. But I'm going to share my screen. If you guys want a last minute entry, do hashtag Whitty, WHITTY, hashtag.
Now, can you guys see the comments? So people can, are people still commenting Whitty or no? They can't.
Yes. So we have 27 entries right now.
27 entries. Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah. So I haven't
Jeff
seen
Terry
any-
doesn't get. Jeff Terry does not get an entry.
No. If he won, we'd have to recount, obviously.
Yeah. That'd be a problem.
So I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna leave it open for another like 2 seconds. Okay, we got a couple more coming. Okay.
This is while we're waiting. This is what I'm drinking right here is Rapture Brewing Pink Farmhouse,
Boom.
which is like I don't even know. I honestly don't know what I'm drinking. It's like a tea.
It's a
Right?
it's a
Table
saison.
saison.
Yeah.
I don't,
Table
you
saison.
say stuff like that, and it's just insider baseball. I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too
Right.
into it. We'll just
I
say
like a
this.
nice
so
saison.
it's beer.
Look at that. It's pink.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Which I've not gotten to try that one. I don't
Yeah, you
think.
need to try that. That one's good. It's up your alley.
I have this, and I have the in my refrigerator. I have the. I mean, I have a few in my refrigerator, but I have new to me is I have the this. I can't remember what you call it, Mitch. I have the sour.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what?
Symphony of Sour. Mhm.
Symphony of Sour. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. I know
Yeah,
Jeff
that's a
like
fun
Jeff
one.
like.
Yeah,
I'm
Jeff
excited to try
was a fan of the Symphony of Sour.
I was debating the farmhouse or the sour for the podcast, and I went farmhouse because it was only 4%.
Yeah,
I figured,
yeah.
I figured that might be a better option.
Definitely.
So I didn't end up,
Pace yourself.
attacking this guy halfway through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I need to send you, spoiler alert for Child Alone with Strangers, but I need to send you another bottle of Cesare so you can just keep it on your shelf by your book. Because that's the one that maybe was referenced in the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you remember,
yeah.
now this is getting way too into it, but you're like, how do I word this? I was like,
Oh, no, I remember that. I was messaging Mitch, Victoria, and whoever's listening. So, and Josh, you'll find this interesting. So I told you I wrote Rapture into the book, right? But I had to message because I was doing the edits from the publisher, and I said, "Oh, I want to add this," and so I had to keep messaging Mitch to say, like, "Am I saying this right? I don't want to, I don't know. Is it saison? Whatever. I don't, is it capitalized? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective? I don't."
So I gave him the wrong information to make him look dumb.
Right.
People would be like, wow, this guy does not know beer.
I did. Josh, you'll find this interesting, I think. I did have access to an FBI agent who was a friend of a friend who I was able to
came over to your house and like,
no,
you have access to an FBI agent who was knocking on my door.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like Grubhub. No, I didn't. No, but I was able to send him like sections of the book, and be like, "Is this right?" And we got on the phone and we talked it through. That was really fun. I haven't done a lot of that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if you forward if you cheat and read the acknowledgments, you'll see I thanked him in there. So all the procedural stuff in trial is actually real. Like it's actually how it would go in the 90s even. So we had some really fascinating conversations. I love stuff like that. I wrote a book called Observe that's being shopped right now, and I was able to talk to via a friend, a social media friend, Rick. He hooked me up with this guy who Les, who is a NASA scientist, and he and I worked through portions of my science fiction novel and made sure that they were scientifically accurate because there's time travel was involved.
Man, I can't even be bothered. Like Allison would be like, "This should be real," and I'm like, "Oh my god, then fucking look it up for me." I cannot be bothered. I'm like, it's like that's the difference between like sci-fi and horror, right? It's like sci-fi is like it's like the sun died at this time, and then like it took this many years for the light to die, reach the earth, and then vines. And then in horror, it's like the world went dark.
Right, like that. Like
And
the
I'm
stars,
God, thank God.
the stars were every star in the universe was extinguished. That's just what happened. Yeah, no, it's funny. I was just talking about this morning where she said, "Why do you like writing horror versus like?" And I said, "Because anything can happen. Anything can happen. It's wide open. There's no rules. Science fiction has rules. Fantasy has rules. But horror, there's no rules. You can do anything you want, and I think that's like really exciting. As a writer, because and as a reader, because you don't know what's going to happen. Literally, anything can happen. The wildest aspect of your imaginations can come true. So I think that's what makes horror a lot of fun. Sorry, Mitch, go ahead, do your giveaway.
Oh no, you're good. So I was
Josh,
we can wait another 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. No, so I was gonna say, let's do the giveaway. And then I was looking at the giveaway tool and it says still only 27 entries. So I think we're having some issues with
okay. Yeah, you want everybody to be able to get in there.
Yeah, so I don't want to make anyone upset. This is potentially the greatest giveaway of all time. So I want to count all the entries. So after this is all said and done,
you get a signed book by me, you get a signed book by Josh, you get a Whitty Books package of some sort.
Swag bag. We don't even know what's in there yet.
Yeah, and 2 signed books by you, Philip. Gothic and
right. Gothic is a signed arc of Gothic. That's right.
Like reason.
Man,
so that's extra special.
Yeah.
So after this is all done, Victoria and I, we will count up all the hashtag Whitties, and either me or Victoria will post a video of the drawing in the comments, and we'll tag the winner.
All right.
That's how we'll do that.
Well, all right. Well, all right. Well, this has been great.
Josh, it's been awesome.
Mitch, thank you for coordinating. Victoria, thank you for hosting.
I do have one question.
Thank you for being here. Oh,
I just want to extend this another hour or so.
This is like when you're at the party and you just like walk through the whole crowd and you're saying goodbye. And then your wife's like, "Oh wait, I got to go back."
No, that's my favorite moment. My favorite moment is like you're actually not leaving yet. I'm like, "Oh my God, Allison, we're actually still staying."
I'm like, I met this person.
I'm like in the car. Car's running, the heat's on, right? I'm like, what is happening? I go back in now. I'm sorry, Rich. Go ahead.
All right.
A friend basically called it an Oklahoma goodbye.
Oh, that's good.
An Oklahoma goodbye.
Yeah, where you say you're leaving 5 times before you actually leave.
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Or also known as an okie dokie, I think, right?
Ooh, I like that.
Oh.
What did we make that?
Where'd that come from?
Like that?
Did you just make that up?
Yeah. I did.
That was creative.
It's yours if you want it, Josh. It's yours if you want it. I got to pull an okie dokie and come back in for one more question. Go ahead, Mitch. What you got?
That's going to be in the vernacular. So I have one more question for each of you. What's next? What do you got? What do you got going on? Josh, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Philip because he's the man of the hour.
What's next for me is this shot.
Okay.
So jealous.
And then
can't do the exotic blue. It's too expensive.
Spin a Black Yarn is coming out next year. And then it looks like Incidents Around the House the year after that. But that's where we're at. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Spin a Black Yarn is a
that's done. Like rewritten. Like
it's a series of novellas.
Say it again.
It's a series of novellas, right? It's a collection.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're all novellas though. There's one that's like 9,000 words. It's stories, but it says novellas on it. But yeah, I can't.
Oh, but it's story. It's a story. It's your first story collection, right?
Say again.
It's your first story collection.
No, because Goblin would be like it's like Goblin in a different city, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh.
See, I thought Goblin was more like a novel, one of those like intertwined stories that is like a novel.
Yeah, This is less intertwined, but there is a like 30 or a 40,000 word story in there, which could be a novel,
So
is it original? Wait, I'm sorry, Mitch. Is it excited? Is it an original?
I am too.
40,000 word novella?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is Jupiter's Fall? Jupiter's I'm butchering it. Jupiter's Fall in there?
Jupiter's Drop is in there. Yep. Yep.
Jupiter's Drop is in there. That's a awesome story.
Yeah.
Where was Jupiter's Drop? Where was Jupiter's Drop initially published?
You Human with Michael Bailey.
That story.
Yeah.
Guys, if you can get your hands on You Human by Michael Bailey, read Jupiter's Drop. That story is balls out. Amazing.
Dude, Philip, I can't wait for you to fucking read Igorov, man. Igorov. Like a Russian name. Igorov. Yeah. That's
novella.
Well, it's like 40,000 words, but I almost feel like
that's a novel. Why don't you just add 15,000 words and sell it?
No, but I feel like I Trojan horse the novel into Spin a Black Yarn. Yeah. They were like,
but that's what I'm saying.
They were like, do you have one more story? I was like, yeah.
but most writers would be like, I'm going to take this 40,000 word story and I'm going to expand it. I'm going to make it a novel and sell it as a novel, standalone novel. But you're just throwing it into the collection. You have too many ideas.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I can't wait for you to read it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited. That's awesome. Sorry, Mitch. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Philip, can you, my goodness. So
I know I get
it. You get too excited.
I'm a fan of Josh.
No, I am too. As soon as you,
vice versa.
Yeah, as soon as you said it was similar to Goblin, so is this set in Sam Hatton? Because I know that Daphne was originally in Spin a Black Yarn.
Yes, all 5, including the Jupiter Drop, is set in Sam Hatton.
Wow.
Well, Jupiter Drop's not. So I'm sorry, Mitch.
No, dude. No. We're all
listening. But Jupiter Drop's not set in Sam Hatton. It's set in fucking space, dude.
No. Great point. He's from Sam Hatton. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great point.
That story.
You're right.
Wait, oh my God. Have you read it?
I have not.
You read it?
No. I need to.
Amazing.
I'm gonna find it after this.
Spin a Black Yarn. I cannot wait. And
that's a beautiful story. And I read it. I read it for the first time. I read it for the first time, unsolicited. Josh didn't prompt me. I messaged him. I was like, dude, this story is fucking unreal. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's such a beautiful story. The visuals are like mind shattering.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
that is kind of piggybacking off of a question I was going to ask earlier, because I know that Daphne started as a short story or a novella. I don't know what the length is.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, did I know that? I don't know.
Yeah, you knew that. It was in your podcast, dude. Do you not listen to your podcast?
Mitch is just muting my mic.
I want to come to Tulsa and drink with me.
You know what? I was going to go to mute you because
I want to arm wrestle with Mitch.
Yeah.
I know.
So I was going to ask what the process was expanding that story. Like what did you add to it to make it a novel?
So I had sent all of Spin a Black Yarn to Del Rey, and Trisha wrote me back. The first one, Daphne, should be its own novel, and I was like, "Really? You think so?" And at the time, I think it was 30,000 words. And then she was like, "Yes," and like, "Here's why," or "Here's how," and it was like the smallest, like the most reasonable ideas I could possibly imagine. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we can. All right, so we can have a little more of this, a little more of this," and then went through a rewrite, and it was like 75,000 words, and I was like, "Yeah, Trisha, thank you. Yeah."
That's awesome.
So the fact that Daphne is a standalone was entirely Del Rey's idea.
Yep. Good, because it's awesome.
Yeah. Another question.
Thank you.
Mitch?
Go for it.
Was all the anxiety stuff in there? All the diary stuff in there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
The whole point of Daphne is the anxiety attack.
So good.
The whole point.
That's what I was asking, because it's really
yeah.
That's the meat of the potatoes.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. That's
so interestingly. Sorry, Mitch. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's been my favorite part of the novel so far.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's pretty. It's interesting because it's a different tempo than the than the novel, and he breaks it into almost kind of almost like you can almost hear the crackle static cut, and then we're going to go into this like sort of like sub thing of like this girl's anxiety issues, and we're going to come back to the main story. But it's really fascinating the way Josh does it. I was just going to say that Gothic was actually the exact same story that Josh was told. Gothic was a novella as part of a collection, and my second agent at the time said, break this out of the collection and make it a novel. So it happens, you know.
Yeah, that book is awesome too.
Yeah,
that's a ride right there. Which collection was that supposed to be in?
it was supposed to be in Beneath the Pale Sky.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the as Philip, as you know, that's one of the best short story collections I've ever read.
Josh did the introduction to
Yeah.
Beneath the Pale Sky.
It's one of the best I've ever read.
Thank you. Josh.
It's brilliant. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is where we can come to a close. Like I said, Victoria and I will do the giveaway later here in, I don't know, an hour or so. But we'll comment and tag the winner, and we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, thank you guys. This was awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you
Victoria.
guys.
Hey, I want to say to anyone listening to the podcast, and I know Josh Baxman this, if you haven't pre-ordered or ordered Daphne or ordered, I'm so used to saying pre-ordered because then my books will fucking come out. But if you've ordered Child of Strangers or Daphne, you can order from Whitty's Books, and they have book plates for both books, and they can send you a nice signed copy with a original book plate in it. So if you listen to the podcast and you haven't ordered yet, order it from Whitty's. There'll be a link, right, guys, in somewhere in here or something to buy.
Yes, yeah, and the event link, we can have those ready. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. This has been
Awesome.
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. This was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Cheers, everyone.
bye.